Maggie, and welcome to Bird Talk. Today we have a very special guest, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Welcome, Jonathan, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So did you actually start out in the flock, or did you meet up with them, and how exactly did you become an outcast?
Actually, I was born into the flock. They'd been my family my whole life, but I became an outcast by just flying for fun. Because most all the seagulls in my flock fly only for one reason: food. They're flying to find something to eat, and none of them understand the joy of flying and the exhilaration of flying fast and free. I brought a couple pictures. Can I show them to you?
Sure.
All right. Here's a picture of my flock. You can see that there are a lot of them. They're flying all over the place. They're diving into the water. It's chaos. Bumping into each other. It's all about the food. Nobody's having fun there. It's work. Here is a picture of me flying for fun. It's beautiful. It's exhilarating. You're going fast. It's exciting. It's all the difference in the world. And this is what I love to do. And that's what made me an outcast.
So when you first went to heaven in this book, what were your thoughts exactly?
Well, when I first went to heaven, I thought heaven was a very calm and a very beautiful, peaceful place. I also thought that the other seagulls in heaven looked a whole lot brighter than the seagulls that had been in the flock, my personal own flock, my regular flock, and I was really intrigued by that. They were so bright and shiny. It was amazing.
So Jonathan, tell me, when you were in heaven, you asked a seagull called Sullivan that where everybody was. Why did you ask Sullivan that question exactly?
Well, when I went to heaven, there weren't nearly as many gulls up there that had been in my flock. Because in my flock, there were thousands of birds, maybe even 1 million. There were a lot of us. But when I was in heaven, there were maybe 20, 30 birds up there. So I asked Sullivan, and you know what he told me? He said I was a 1 in 1 million bird. And that there were some other seagulls up there that were pretty special too, but they hadn't quite realized their special talents as quickly as I had. And they'd come to heaven a lot slower than I had, kind of coming from one world to another. And along the way, they'd kind of forgotten about where they came from. They'd forgotten about their original flock, but I hadn't.
Jonathan, there is something else I need to ask you, and that is, when you went to heaven, is it really a place, or is it something that you feel, or is it something you can do?
Well, you know, heaven's not a place, and it's not a feeling, and it's not something you can do either. It is just about being perfect. Being who you are, being whoever you want to be, and not what other people want you to be, and doing it really, really well.
So, Jonathan, I remember that at one point you tell a seagull called Fletcher that he has to teach the other seagulls how to fly for fun. Why is that, and why did you pick Fletcher?
Well, I picked Fletcher because I was getting a little old, and it was getting harder for me to teach the other seagulls in my flock how to fly. So I picked Fletcher. He's a little younger than I am. He's a good flyer. I thought he would do a good job teaching them this is flying for fun, and he knows how to have fun. I trusted him too. You know, he's one of my best friends in the flock. This is my original flock. You know, I went back to my original flock to teach them to fly for fun, and he was one of my best friends. And I thought he could really share that feeling of flying for fun with the younger seagulls.
Jonathan, I have 2 more questions I have to ask you. And the first one is, did some of the seagulls in the flock that you used to be a part of think that you were the only son of the great gull?
No, actually, the one they thought was the only son of the great gull was Fletcher. And that was because he flew off a cliff when I was teaching him a trick, and everybody thought he died. But he didn't. He didn't. But when he reappeared, since everybody thought he died, they thought that maybe he had been brought back to life by the great gull. But he had just done a trick that was scary and amazing, but he hadn't died at all.
Okay, and the last question I have for you is, do you think that Fletcher will be able to teach the other seagulls and teach the younger seagulls in his flock everything that he has learned from you?
Oh, absolutely. Fletcher's great. He really learned a lot from me. He feels the love of flying the way I do, and I know that he'll be able to share that with the younger gulls in his flock.
Okay, thank you so much, Jonathan, for answering my questions.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me. I really enjoy being on Bird Talk. It's my favorite show. Thanks for having me here today. I think I enjoyed this, and maybe even more than flying for fun, just for today. But I'd love to show you some of my tricks. Can I show them to you?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Bird Talk is sponsored by Catholic, an awesome school.